Wow, we are racking up quite a string of beautiful days. Oh my goodness, it's another blue sky day. Uh-oh, looks like there's some folks with a little bit of car issues. Not a fun way to start a Monday, that is for sure. And, oh, well, looks like they got it started. Good timing. And yesterday was supposed to be a movie roulette, but instead we had a day off. I feel well rested and ready to get going. And so we're going to try something new today, and that is going to be a Netflix roulette. We didn't get to do the movie roulette yesterday, so I've been wanting to try the Netflix roulette thing before, but we haven't yet. So today is the day. Well, hello there, and welcome to another beautiful day for a Netflix roulette here on Tommy Travels the Second. That's right, we're trying out a brand new segment. If you're familiar with Sunday movie roulette that we do, it's going to be very similar. On movie roulette, I go out and see a movie that I've never heard of before and then give a little review on it. With this, it's going to be the same thing, only Netflix. The reason I want to try this segment is because not everybody gets a chance to run out and go see a movie these days. A lot of times it's like, the last time I saw a movie was Titanic. And so then I can do a movie review, and then by the time somebody gets around to being able to see it, when it comes out on Netflix, or if it even comes out on Netflix, they've already forgotten about the review. And so I want a chance to be able to do something where I can review a movie that literally right after this video you can turn it on and watch it if you want to. And so today's movie is going to be called An Interview with God. It was one of the first movies that popped up in my Netflix suggestion queue, and so I thought, well, I don't know anything about it, let's give it a try. So that's what we did, and that's what this review is going to be about. So if you are brand new to this channel, go ahead and hit subscribe so you don't miss out on a thing, and I will see you right after this. And so the movie that I saw was called An Interview with God. And the reason I clicked on it is because I thought it was such a cool idea. You know, if you could have a chance to just sit down and ask God any questions that you want, what would you ask? And that's why I thought this would be a great movie. It's a neat topic, and it is a Christian movie, but it deals with religion in a different way than a lot of other ones. There's a lot of ones out there that either about the Jesus story itself that we've seen many, many times get played out on TV and in movies, or there's ones that take place modern day where it has to do with the rapture and things like that. But this is just a guy sitting down and interviewing God. And I thought, this sounds interesting, so I clicked on it. And so this movie takes place in the modern day and starts off by showing a young journalist in a military plane looking over at some coffins that are draped in the American flag. He had an opportunity to go over and cover the war, and from what we learned, being over there, you see some pretty bad things. They don't show any of that in the movie, but the idea that he saw some bad things is covered over time. And as a result of that, his faith in God has been shaken. He's seen some really bad things happen to some very good people. And so he's struggling with that. He's also struggling with his marriage. Obviously, they were separated as a result of him going overseas to cover the war. They were newly married as it was, and so there's some issues going on there. And as a result of everything all together, he prayed for God to help him. And so God did help him. He was invited to do an interview with God in 3 half-hour sessions. Now, here's the thing, is that this journalist doesn't really know if he's going to see actual God. He just knows that he's going to visit a person who says he's God. But he's a journalist and he's inquisitive, and he thinks that's kind of a weird angle. I want to at least check out what this is. Well, as he sits down and starts asking questions, he starts to believe more and more that he is actually talking with God. And so this movie has three basic plot lines going on. 1, trouble with the marriage. 2, an interview with God. And 3, dealing with all of the stuff that he had to go through when he was covering the war and figuring out some situations going on with his work where he's supposed to be on a leave, but he's got this interview with God that he's dealing with, and his boss basically is the other relationship that goes on in the movie. The issue with it is that they don't spend enough time in any one area in setup for you to care that much about this guy or his wife. His wife plays a relatively small role in this movie, considering it's part of the whole reason that him and God are talking in the first place. He prayed for help with all of this stuff, and his wife is part of it, but we barely know who she is. Other than that, this is his wife, and they go to work together, and that's about what you see of her in the movie. So they made some mistakes with the setup where you should care more than what you do about what's going on. And then as the movie goes on, you find out that this could have easily been called an argument with God as well as an interview with God. Because it is an interview, but it feels more like a large argument. And the issue with that is what I just talked about. There's not enough setup to show why this kid should be angry at God, to feel where he's really coming from. You should really feel that to understand why this guy might be yelling at God. God keeps turning the conversation back around to him as a journalist. He doesn't like that because the interview is supposed to be about God, not him, right? And so he's supposed to be this nice guy, and most of the movie he's yelling at God. I don't like that. And so it's not like I don't understand the point of the movie where this kid thinks he's getting some kind of big interview with God, but really it's about God stepping in answer to his prayer to help him out in certain areas and to save him. I get that. But it's just done in a mishmashy bad way that I didn't like. And for that reason, this movie only gets a 5 out of 10 on a scale of Eat, Pray, Love to 10. Feel free to go ahead and watch it on Netflix. It is something that at least makes you think. There are a few touching moments in there, but for all the arguing, you want to have a really good payoff. And I didn't feel like the payoff in the movie was all that great either. There's some unanswered questions as far as his article is concerned that he's writing and how that does, and there's just not enough payoff in this movie for it to be really something you need to go out of your way to press play on. And so there you have it, a 5 on a scale of Eat, Pray, Love to 10. This movie was underwhelming for me, and I think I was underwhelmed because it had such promise. I was so interested at the beginning because it's such a great idea. You know, what would you ask God if you had a chance to sit down and interview him and you could ask him anything that you want? What would you want to know? And as far as that whole thing about why do bad things happen to good people, I have a theory about that, and I think it has to do with perception. What we perceive to be as bad isn't necessarily bad in the scheme of things. We lost somebody. That's selfish. It's a personal thing to us. It's bad for us because we won't get to see that person anymore. But to that person, they have fulfilled what they need to do in this life, in my opinion. And then they have now been granted the gift of salvation. And they're up in heaven, right? They don't feel any attachment to this body down here on earth. They're in a whole different beautiful dimension that we can't possibly comprehend. We've talked about this a little bit in near-death experiences, but something that we perceive as bad isn't necessarily bad for the person that it happened to. It might be quite a blessing, as a matter of fact. And so I don't think bad things happen to good people. I think we perceive things are bad that happen to good people. It could turn out to, we might find out that when someone passes away at a young age or tragically or something like that, it all turns out to be good when we figure out the whole meaning behind everything once we get our turn to go up into heaven. So those are the kind of questions this movie didn't answer, and the kind of topics that you'd really want to know from God. They didn't really delve into much of that, and so it was very underwhelming, to say the least. But if you guys liked what you saw here today and you like this idea, please go ahead and hit like on my YouTube channel. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit subscribe so you can be the first to know when a new adventure comes out. And this has been a very fun first edition of Netflix Roulette. And thank you guys so much for the support that you've given me so far. And until next time, I hope to catch you on the flip side.